Welcome to the Matt O'Grady Coaching Podcast. This is where Matt shares all his ideas on how to be happier, more successful, and enjoy life to the fullest. Please go to mattogradycoaching.com and theliving.gratitudebook.com to learn more and receive your free micro-coaching session with Matt.
Hello. Welcome to the Matt O'Grady Podcast. mattogradycoaching.com. Today, we are going to continue with the Abraham 101 series, and this is the second installment of this series. And how can we kind of do Abraham stuff without talking about the famous law of attraction? It's really funny how this idea has so many millions of different perspectives, right? It really does have a tremendous amount of variation in how people approach it. But what's interesting is that it's actually super simple. And as human beings, we often try to complicate things even when it's unnecessary. But it's just kind of who we are. And it's kind of how we work through things. And that's why there's so many teachers that are thousands of years old that we listen to, and then teachers right from today. There's millions of teachers today talking about the same concepts from thousands of years ago. There's been probably billions of people that have talked about these things throughout the millennia, and we're all reading their books and their information and listening to their videos and their podcasts. I'm one of them, and you who are listening may be one of them, because I listen to podcasts too about these subjects, because I'm always looking for new information and deepening my understanding of things like the law of attraction. So we're going to review a couple things. We're going to do a very quick history lesson on what the law of attraction is, and then I'm going to share a couple of my favorite quotes about the law of attraction, or at least some that make a whole lot of sense for this type of show. So the law of attraction has been around for thousands of years. It just wasn't necessarily called the law of attraction. It seems as if Madame Blavatsky was the first one, the late 1800s, to specifically coin the term law of attraction. But there were several, if not dozens, of other New Thought teachers that seem to have been talking about it right around the same time. So I'm not exactly sure if it was coined within the Transcendental movement with guys like Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, etc. But they were all around at the same time writing about these concepts and these ideas. A lot of it comes from the New Thought movement. But that's really just, recent recorded history. The Bible and Buddhist writings and Vedic writings from the Hindu scripture all have references to this idea of the law of magnetism or the law of attraction, the ideas of so you think in your heart, so shall you be, are essentially talking about the law of attraction. As you sow, so you shall reap, right? That is essentially coining in a very short, direct language the law of attraction. Some of the other thoughts or people here, there's some kind of neat information about Charles Hannell from the Master Key System. In 1912, he said, "The law of attraction will certainly and unerringly bring to you the conditions, environment, and experiences in life corresponding with your habitual, characteristic, predominant mental attitude." Once again, he's really just saying in a different way, as you think, as you feel, so shall you and your life be. Ralph Trine, In Tune with the Infinite, which I really love, by the way. I think it's a very cool book. Came out in 1897. He wrote, the law of attraction works universally on every plane of action, and we attract whatever we desire or expect. If we desire one thing and expect another, we become like houses divided against themselves, which is also a biblical term, right? Which are quickly brought to desolation. Determine resolutely to expect only what you desire, then you will attract only what you wish for. Really good information. We could go much deeper on all of these different things, how it works. But I really just want to talk about, there's all sorts of roots, whether it's Hermeticism, whether, like I already mentioned, the Bible, Transcendentalism. I added a couple other syllables in there, but you know what I'm saying. Hinduism. There's things from the Renaissance, Phineas Quimby. I mean, there's so many references to it that have nothing to do with The Secret, have nothing to do with Abraham Hicks, have nothing to do with anybody who's alive talking about it today. This stuff has been around for a really long time. Now, obviously, you guys know I'm a huge Abraham fan, so nothing to take away from the Abraham Hicks philosophy or what amazing people like Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay are doing. And I'm going to use that as a segue to read really what I think is, without question, one of the most important filters to think about when we're considering how the law of attraction works in our lives, okay? Essentially, this idea, this philosophy, this law, if you will, is something that is universal, meaning that it works all the time, regardless of circumstances, opinions, bad attitudes, good attitudes, etc. Essentially, it is what it is. And I think eventually a shadow of a doubt. And it's going to be pretty cool when that happens, although there's been all sorts of really interesting stuff in quantum physics, etc., that talks about how these things work. I think that this specific quote can be really helpful in understanding the law of attraction. So here it goes. This one is by Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I'm also a huge, huge fan of. The law of attraction is this. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Isn't that interesting, right? I think that is a really, really important point and something for us to consider significantly. If you're really trying to understand how the law of attraction works in our lives, this is the key. I'm going to share another quote from Abraham to elucidate the same idea, which is, if you want to know what your future is, notice how you feel right now. How you feel right now is your future. So it's kind of interesting, right? So if we want our future to be different, what do we have to do? Bum, 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 bum. We have to change, right? You have to change our thoughts and feelings because, as Wayne says here, you attract what you are in this moment. You're already attracting, right? In this very moment, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're doing and saying and reacting to my words in this moment. Like, we don't just listen to things like somebody who's half asleep, right? Our mind is active. Our emotions are active. Those things are always working in every moment, whether we're aware of them or not. They are ongoing. So our point of attraction is always ongoing. As we get good news, bad news, how we react to it, what somebody says, what somebody does, when somebody pulls out in front of you in that parking spot and surprises the heck out of you, or, all across the board, when you get a bill for $5,000 that you didn't expect. Yes, that's happened to me. All of a sudden, when certain things that you don't expect happen, how you react, right, that point of attraction. When something amazing happens, when you're super inspired, when you're in love, when your heart is just broken open to a million beautiful pieces and you just feel love pouring through your soul, right? You're attracting in that moment too. So what I always do with my clients is say, hey, let's get something really important in place for you. It's called an awareness practice. If they're not familiar, I really start them from the very beginning. Let's start to have you practicing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're saying, doing, how you're holding your body. I think body language comes into our point of attraction too. I mean, think about it. If you're completely slumped over the computer all day, every day, crushing your organs, tightening your hamstrings and your hip flexors, not getting enough movement through this beautiful divine instrument we call the body temple, guess what? That has to do with your point of attraction too. Like, are you allowing your lungs to breathe? Is your heart open? Are your organs set up to be able to function correctly? Is your throat set up? Is your crown chakra just gently lifted so that your spine is open and all of your nerves and your cerebrospinal fluid can go? So my point is, our point of attraction is everything that we are, physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, energetically. It has many, many layers to it. So as simple and beautiful as Wayne's quote is, that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. The definition of who and what we are is layered significantly by, some people would say, thousands of layers. At the very least, we have hundreds of layers, right? And then we also have some main points within the body. I mentioned some of them, but other people would look at it through a chakra system, or the Barbara Brennan school would look at it through these different layers of energy systems that we have in the body, including some of the obvious physical ones like the nerve system, the cardiovascular system. You know, it's really important to understand that we are a very dynamic being. And I think approach this with awe and inspiration, that who we are is this massive opportunity to get to know who we really are, physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, and then whatever other kind of way that you're inspired to learn about yourself. I mean, I'm a yoga guy, so many years ago when I got into yoga, 20-something years ago, the chakra system was all brand new to me, and I was fascinated by it. So I studied it. I took classes. I became a Reiki master. I became an integrated energy therapy practitioner. I did all sorts of, I went to holistic college. I was a massage therapist, an acupressurist. I was studying under an Ayurvedic teacher. So, I mean, there's all these. I was also enrolled as an official student in a Buddhist temple for 2 years. You know, all of these different things kind of played into how I learned about who I am. And that was really the foundation for me to understand how the law of attraction was working in my life. Many of you know the story of how I teach gratitude and appreciation with my clients is by telling them the story that I was feeling terrible emotionally, physically, intellectually, every aspect of my life, pretty depressed, feeling horrible. And the idea of essentially pretending to be grateful in the moment could potentially shift your energy so that something better could happen in your life. And I was having lunch, and I decided to test it out. And to my amazement, I started feeling better, and not just a little bit, somewhat significantly. And that sparked such a really powerful movement in my life to explore more who I was and understand who I was. And I think our approach to the law of attraction should be similar. It's not like a cut and dry thing like, okay, Abraham Hicks says the law of attraction is X, Y, and Z, and that's it. I'm never going to look at it more deeply than that. That's the story, and that's all I'm going to focus on. I think we're selling ourselves a little short if you do that. I think there's much better ways to approach it. I think there's, really important quotes like this one from Buddha. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him. If man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him. like a shadow that never leaves him. So, once again, Buddha, 2,500 years ago at least, right? Some say he was from longer ago. There's this idea of how the law of attraction works. It doesn't just come from The Secret, okay? Really important to understand that and remember that all the world's main religions and kind of spiritual philosophies have some form of the idea of the law of attraction within it. And I think it's important to realize that the law of attraction is not the only important understanding of your life and of your spiritual life. I'm not going to, start going on tangents here, but law of attraction is really important and really beautiful, really spectacular. But I would highly recommend taking a bird's eye view approach to your self-development, your self-exploration, your self-awareness practice, your meditation practice, your manifestation practice. I would offer up the idea to go in light and easy and just kind of follow your nose by what you're inspired to research and understand before you kind of hone in on one thing and say, that's the gospel, I'm never going to research or understand anything else. I'm a researcher. I'm a natural-born person who loves to research what they're interested in. What I'm passionate about, nothing can stop me from getting to the library, to researching it online, to talking with people and having conversations about it, to practicing it in my own life, to experimenting with it. That's the way I like to engage with life. And I think that's what's led me to where I am today with these practices, because I have that type of personality. Now, not everyone does, which is totally cool and understandable. However, I would highly recommend that you find whatever your best approach to it is, so that, I share with my clients, if you can practice anything significantly for 2 minutes a day, you're building a foundation. I don't care whether it's yoga or meditation or understanding the law of attraction or self-awareness or whatever it is, but 2 minutes a day can make a big difference. And the reason I know that is because that's what I started out as. I started out as nothing, and then started just going a couple minutes here and there, and all of a sudden, because I was so amazed by the results, I started doing it much more. I started investing more time, attention, and focus into these practices that were helpful to my life, because I was desperate. So, the world, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, kind of conspired to put me in a situation where I had no other choice. My other choices was death, insanity. So I decided none of those choices were really ones that I was interested in. So I started exploring other options very passionately. And here we are today, 20-something years later. So let's keep going here, because I think there's a good Abraham quote here that I want to read, because it's kind of, law of attraction 101 here. Let's see. I have it here. Here we go. It's not your work to make anything happen. It's your work to dream it and let it happen. Law of attraction will make it happen. I'm just going to pause there, right? And repeat it. Law of attraction will make. In your joy, you create something. And then you maintain your vibrational harmony with it. And the universe must find a way to bring it about. That's the promise of law of attraction. Probably. That's the promise of the law of attraction. But that's a really good point here, because, as much as I love an academic or intellectual study of a certain subject, kind of a scientific approach, the truth is I'm super passionate about this subject. And I'm also really practical in what I like to teach people that I work with. So instead of just waxing on, I want to shift our focus at this point in the podcast to practicality, to how the way for that is the quote from Abraham. And I'm going to repeat this part because it's so, so important. In your joy, you create something, and and then you maintain your vibrational harmony with it, and the universe must find a way to bring it about. Isn't that what we're all going for? On some level or another, even if it's not really obvious, I believe that we're all going for happiness. We're all going for joy. We're all trying to avoid pain and increase the pleasure in our lives. And I'm not just speaking physical pleasure, all the way through all those layers I was discussing earlier. That's what we're going for. And that's what we should, quote unquote, be going for, right? Something that feels good. Because if we're not moving towards what feels good, what do we feel? Fear, anxiety, stress. What does that do to our lives? Yes, it makes it crappy. Stress and anxiety and doubt and fear, day after day, hour after hour, repetitive, circling, stressful, horrible thoughts, worrying about everything that's going to go on. Oh, we've all been there, right? Trust me, I've been there. Trust me, I'm still go there sometimes. Thankfully, I catch myself rather quickly. I really like that I catch myself rather quickly, but every once in a while, I feel it, just raw worry. You get bad news about somebody you love, or the other day, I was in the kitchen, my son was in the TV room, so we're only, 30 feet away from each other, and I hear a big boom, which isn't common. He's always jumping off stuff. He's 5, so he's like, I don't know what he thinks he is, but he thinks he's like some sort of dancing, weird gymnastic person. He's always doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and I just let him do it because I love him, and I like to let his heart kind of lead him. Well, of course, I wish I was a little closer to him because he fell, and he split his lip open, and there was blood everywhere. So in that moment, guess what? I was pretty worried. I was pretty sad. My heart went right through the floor. I was broken open with that love for him and that compassion for him. Now on the other side of it, even during the same day, I was able to see all the beautiful benefits of it and really try to relish in those and focus on those. But in the moment, I was super sad, right? So in that moment, I was attracting all the worry and doubt and fear. Thankfully, it only lasted a couple minutes. I was able to shift because he needed me. I had to stop worrying and start nurturing and really shift my energy and start being confident so that he could, kind of vibe with my confidence and my nurturing and telling him it's going to be okay. And we did this prayer together, and here I am praying with my son. He's bleeding and crying, and I'm smiling and crying. And, we had this amazing moment. So I share all of that with you to say, life is never just going to be perfect all the time. We're not just going to be in happiness and joy all the time. However, it can be our aim most of the time. And, hey, if something happens and we need to grieve, we need to focus on it, you feel like it's really important to have emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, have at it. But do you need to do it for 5 hours a day? Do you need to do it for 5 days in a row? Do you need to do it for 5 months or 5 years? I'm quite sure you do not. To understand what it is you need to understand from an emotional awareness point of view. I think it's really important if you're going to practice this kind of work and really get into it, if you're inspired to change your life and align yourself with things that feel better while understanding the law of attraction, it's really important to focus on what Abraham says in this quote. In your joy, you create something, and then you maintain your vibrational harmony with it, and the universe must find a way to bring it about. That's the promise of the law of attraction. So important to understand that, in your joy. So are you going for your joy right now? Are you? Well, I recommend that you do. Thinking about learning more about how the law of attraction can help your life. Start thinking and feeling about how all these practices that I talk about in my podcast and the millions of other really great, spectacular teachers that are out there sharing free information all over YouTube, all over Google, it's all available. What has to change? You. Your focus. You have to get dedicated and committed to being able to learn how to shift your focus, how to manage your energy, how to become aware enough so that you can manage your life towards what you want. Because if you don't learn that, law of attraction, understanding it intellectually and academically, I mean, if you want to win some prize for that, have at it. I care nothing about that, really. At the end of the day, I mean, I might find it interesting for a short period of time, but the truth is, ultimately, what I care about is the practical application to my life and the practical application to my clients' lives and the practical application to all the people who I care about most. And then I care about, of course, the globe in general. We were having that conversation yesterday. I'm getting involved with this whole peace and meditation movement. As I get more details, I think I just spoke with them this morning, and I have somebody come on and be interviewed that's helping run the initiative. I'm excited about sharing more of that with you very soon. Law of attraction is awesome. I think it's absolutely so cool to learn about. I think it's just one of those things that as you learn more about it, as you understand truly how powerful it is, it's super, super powerful. It can really just blow your mind how powerful and cool it is. Many of you may know Michael Lozier. He was writing books about the law of attraction. I don't know how far, but definitely before The Secret came out. And here's one of his quotes. I attract to my life whatever I give my attention, energy, and focus to, whether positive or negative. Juicy, right? So it's our focus. What are you putting your attention on? Are you allowing to move through your brain, move through your mind? What words are you saying? I hear people say things all the time like, man, it just never works out. It's always something. Can you believe the world? It's a crazy world. It's an insane world. What's wrong with those people? These people are a-holes or, this, that, or the other. Listen, if you understand how the law of attraction works, then you understand not to say those things, even when you're joking, even if you're just trying to fit in and agree with someone. You know what I've been doing when people say stuff like that? Getting completely silent, just breathing. I don't disagree with them either, because when you resist something, when you push back, you're bringing your resistance and focus. There's no reason to correct them. There's no reason to yell at them or try to force them to change the way they're thinking about what you're thinking. But you know what this kind of silent pause does? It makes them question it. They look at me like, what, you have no reaction? And I either change the conversation, talk about something different. I'm not going to get into a debate about it unless somebody wants, unless they're my client or my friend or somebody's approached me, one of the podcast listeners has a question. That's different. You're specifically asking for my opinion on something. I'm not into debate and arguing and all of that. It doesn't bring any joy to my life. So I just want, we're getting towards the end here, and I'm sure that you can hear the passion in my voice on the subject. I feel like I could do a 3-hour podcast just on this. And I think, I will do something on the history of the law of attraction because it's kind of cool and interesting. If you love studying ancient scripture like I do, I absolutely love it. I love reading information that was recorded thousands of years ago and then exploring it and applying it to my life today and thinking about the men and women who came up with these ideas and how they were practicing and what they have to say about it, I think is super cool. But what I'm going to do is leave you with this idea because it really kind of is a positive idea having to do with the law of attraction. And I don't know where this quote is from, so if one of you guys know, I'm happy to give it, the correct footnote, if you will. But if you can imagine it in your mind, you can experience it in your reality. And so no matter what's going on in your life, you can use the law of attraction to change your life. Like we talked about yesterday or the other day, in the podcast, Imagination is Everything, where I use the Albert Einstein quote, imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. If you have imagination, which we all do, you can start shifting your life right now. And if you keep shifting, if you come back every day and say, I'm going to shift, I'm going to get into alignment, I'm going to understand how this works more deeply, I'm going to trust, I'm going to have faith, I'm going to explore it, I'm not going to let those ideas and thoughts of fear, doubt, worry, and anxiety plague my life every day. I'm going to get more aware so that I can get grounded and redirect and focus my life in a specific direction that feels good to me, and then take steps on that path. You can get out of any situation that you're in. Someday I can share you about all the debts I've been in that I'm out of, all the tight situations, the near-death experiences I've been in, etc. But I've had dozens of life experiences that have helped me realize anything is possible. And I really hope that you have that light in your heart, in your mind, that eternal flame of faith and belief in yourself. You can shift and turn and transform and evolve into what you most want to be, to really tap into that potential every single day, consistently, and just keep expanding and growing and living the life that you've dreamed of. Okay, I hope it's helpful. I love you guys. And thank you for everybody that shares this podcast with their friends and family and people that they think will like it. And a shout out to Josh. You really lit up my heart, brought me to tears of joy with your beautiful, long review of kind of my podcast and my book and everything else. I just want to give you a specific shout out how much I appreciated hearing from you and how my work has helped you and your life. And there's nothing that I want more than for this podcast and my books and information to do just that. So thanks for warming my heart and just really lighting the fire of inspiration to give more and do more and be more in my own life and brand and the way that I'm sharing this information. So thank you, Josh. You're an awesome human being, and you are on the mark. Young man, just out of college, rocking life. I love it. Anyway, talk to you all soon. Thank you.